Today in class we talked about equations that have one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solutions. So the equations that we've solved so far, we found one value of x that satisfied the equation, that made it true. So we would have one solution. Remember, a solution is any value that satisfies the equation or makes the equation true. So we found one value for x, then there is one solution. Today we ran into a couple of equations that were different. So the first equation, we distributed on the left-hand side, we got 10x minus 15. On the right-hand side, we combined like terms, we got 10x minus 1. Some people thought, okay, I've got an x on both sides, so I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. And when we did that, we were left with negative 15 equals negative 1. So our variables are completely gone. We don't even have any variables. If we're thinking about our scale is not balanced. Negative 15 is not equal to negative 1. So in a situation like this, it's impossible to find a value that can balance the scales. And if we go back up to this line, 10x, they are the exact same value. So if we look at our x's, the scales would be balanced. But on one side, we're taking 15 away from that 10x. On the other side, we're only taking 1 away from that 10x. So on one side, we're taking more away than the other from the 10x's on each side. So it's impossible for those things to be equal. You can never take 15 away from a number and take 1 away from a number and end up at the same place, right? So if we were to plug a value in, here's what I mean by that. So here's what I mean by that. If we're going to test, if I picked out 10x minus 15 would be 10 times 10 minus 15, so 100 minus 15, we would get 85. On the other hand, right, 10x minus 1, 10 times 10 minus 1, 10 times 10 is 100 minus 1. We're going to end up at 99. So notice that 10x, 10 times 10, 100. We get that same piece on both sides, but then one side is minus 15, one side's minus 1, and we would always have an unbalanced scale. So you might notice it here when the variables are exactly the same on both sides and the constants are not equal, they're unbalanced. Or you might notice it here, our variables are completely gone. Our scale is unbalanced. When we see something like this, there is no solution. There is no possible value of x that we could plug in and make the equation true. We also saw an equation like the last one, 2x minus 5 equals 3 times the quantity, 2x minus 4 minus 4x plus 7. When we distribute and combine like terms on the right-hand side, we get 2x minus 5. So our equation says 2x minus 5 equals 2x minus 5. And so when we discussed this today, someone said, well, x could be 1. So if we test x equals 1, on the left-hand side, we would have 2 times 1 minus 5. On the right-hand side, we would have 2 times 1 minus 5. So on the left side, we would get 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. On the right-hand side, we would also get 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. So 1 is a solution because it makes the equation 2. Someone else said, well, I think 0 is a solution, right? And so we tested it. So that would be 2 times 0 minus 5. On the right-hand side, we would also have 2 times 0 minus 5. So we would get 0 minus 5, which is negative 5 on that left side. On the right side, we would also get 0 minus 5, which is negative 5. It satisfies the equation, which means it is also a solution. In fact, we know for plugging in a value for x, the 2x is always going to have the same value. right? We get a 2 on the left and the right side the first time. We get a 0 the second time. And since both sides are -5, they're always going to be balanced. If you take a number and double it and subtract 5 for the left side, you're going to get the exact same thing on the right side when you take that same number and double it and subtract 5. They're always going to be equal. So maybe you notice in this step, it doesn't matter what I plug in for x, I'm always going to get the same exact value for the left and the right side. Maybe you possibly subtracted 2x from both sides and you got -5 equals -5. So here, again, our variables completely disappeared from that equation, but this time the difference is our scale is balanced. And so in this case, we've already found multiple solutions for this. 1 worked, 0 worked. We could keep finding numbers, we could keep plugging in numbers. Every single possible real number that we could plug in would work. This one has infinitely many solutions because all real numbers, every number that's in our real number system would work as a solution. If we plugged it in, it would make the equation true.